Welcome to SBC This Week, a weekly news roundup from the Southern Baptist Convention, as well as guest interviews from today's top church leaders. Hi, Jonathan. You're here again.
I am back again. You people in your vacations having to fill in quite a bit. Brandon's out this week.
Yeah, the nerve.
So I'm here.
That guy. Yeah. Well, we're glad you're here. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, it's good to be here. So back in the saddle here and, back with SBC This Week. And you know who else is back with SBC This Week?
Who?
The Israel Ministry of Tourism. They're excited to share an incredible discovery that connects us to the ancient past. In central Israel, during a family trip near an archaeological site in Had Hasharon, you know where that is, I'm sure, 12-year-old Daphne stumbled upon something extraordinary, a 3,500-year-old Egyptian amulet known as a scarab. According to the Israel Antiquities Authority, this find is both exciting and significant. The scarab and its unique pictorial features, along with similar discoveries, offer new insights into the nature of the Egyptian influence in the region. This remarkable piece of history is now on display at the J. and Jeannie Schottenstein National Campus for Archaeology in Jerusalem. And Laura, you're invited to come see it in person. And
I will come.
Yes.
Invitation accepted.
Yes. If you're inspired to explore the land where history and faith come alive, you can visit holyland.israel.travel and start planning your journey today. You never know what you might discover while you're there. That's kind of cool.
That's pretty cool. Bring your kids because they
and let them find stuff that is like 3,500 years old.
That's crazy. I love it. So, well, we have a lot of news this week, Jonathan, and I was going to start with letting you talk about the annual meeting because that's your wheelhouse these days, really always.
Annual meeting stuff going on, and we got a hotel update. You only got a couple of weeks left. The hotel cutoff is like May the 8th, May the 10th, somewhere in that range. So if you have rooms or need rooms and you want to get them through the SBC Housing Bureau, which are cheaper than your normal rooms if you try to go around us, you've got about a month left to do that. There's still some rooms available in Dallas and in the surrounding area right around the convention center. So you can check that out. And if you need to get rid of rooms, you better cancel those now or you will be charged for them. So that's just a quick update on that. But we do have rooms. We've been able to get a few more rooms. And every time we get some, we max them out. And then we get some more and then we sell those out. And it just, the cycle keeps going. It's hard to get hotels to give you cheap rooms.
Yeah, well, that's true. I mean, they have an incentive to not do that. So
yes, they do.
So is registration looking pretty healthy?
Yes, it is. We're above last year and rolling right along. So cool. Things have been really good.
Now you need volunteers. We ran a little piece about that this week.
Yes. So also volunteers are needed. If you're interested in volunteering, we need pages, ushers, greeters, people to work preschool childcare, all the things, registration help, prayer room, everything. So,
and it's really fun. It's a fun environment for people.
Oh yeah, it is. It really is.
If you don't know about how to volunteer or what to do or whatever, I mean, I feel like it would be a lot of fun. So it's a fun time. Everybody's there to see people and have fun and
Mm-hmm. And you don't have to do it the whole time. You could do like one session, a few hours. That's it. And, if you want to be an usher, you're in the room. All you do is just pick up the ballots. I mean, it's super easy. Ushing is probably the easiest thing because all you do is sit there and wait for a ballot to come. And then you help pass the buckets.
Is it ushing or ushering? Ushing?
I like ushing. That sounds better.
Okay, I like it.
But I guess ushering is the right term.
I mean, it makes sense.
More fun to usher
than it's ushing, but I don't know.
So,
and the app,
the usher ushes. So
that's right.
Ush.
Is the app's ready to go too? I don't know if
the app's ready. Yeah, the this week's edition of the Road to Dallas talked all about the apps, a bunch of the events and everything. So do check that out and download the app, get everything going there. If you're interested in volunteering, SBC Annual Net or SBCAnnualMeeting.net/volunteer, or if you need information on the hotels, SBCAnnualMeeting.net/hotels, or just go to the homepage there and it'll take you right to it.
Well, speaking of the annual meeting, we had another nomination announcement this week. Nathan Finn will be nominated once again to be the recording secretary for the SBC. Now, this is the person who basically is taking notes on the meeting and then after the meeting compiles all of the records from the meeting. And it's really important. I mean, we refer to those records all the time.
All the time.
Yeah.
All the time.
So it's a really big job. Yeah.
Yeah. Really big, important job too. Because I mean, they work with us and to make sure we get the book reports out and the annual and all those things. But yeah, they're responsible for noting what happens at the annual meeting. That's like a high wire act. You got no net, no safety net. Actually, we do have a safety net. It's the live stream, but still, that
Yeah,
helps
they
a
didn't used
lot.
to have
Trust me.
that. So yeah,
Because we after the event, we take all the notes and then we watch the thing again and to make sure that, it's like, dot, 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 dot.
yeah.
So,
So
but yeah,
Jay Adkins, New Orleans pastor, is going to nominate, has announced that he will nominate Nathan Finn for that position. Nathan Finn is a member of and a pastor on
yeah,
staff at Taylor's First Baptist Church in Taylor's, South Carolina. He's also a professor at North Greenville University there in South Carolina. Taylor's First Baptist Church gave 8.36% of undesignated receipts through the cooperative program. Last year, $59,000 to Annie Armstrong offering and $100,000, a little over to the Lottie Moon offering. And so, yeah, be looking forward to seeing that nomination in Dallas.
yes. So, and just up the road from Nathan in South Carolina, we got some news from West Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
Seth Polk has been named the interim executive director. You remember they are going through an executive director change as Eric Ramsey has taken a pastorate in Oklahoma. So Seth Polk, who has been serving as the director of Sin Network West Virginia through the North American Mission Board, is going to be the new interim there.
Mm-hmm.
They look for a full-time replacement for Eric Ramsey.
And do you know him? Do you know Seth Polk?
Yeah, we've met.
I was thinking because you've been to West Virginia for the last several years for their annual meeting. And so I figured you
headed back this year.
Oh, are you? Okay.
Yep.
Yeah,
I love that state.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Love it too.
It is. I'm hands down the prettiest state in the Eastern United States.
Yeah.
It's totally different from some of those Western United States, but like there's some gorgeous places out there. But I think West Virginia as a whole, it's just gorgeous.
Yeah, I wouldn't argue with that. I think it's great.
Yeah.
All right. Well, so yeah, we'll be in prayer for West Virginia as they seek a new permanent director, and for Seth Polk as he fills in as the interim. And they are accepting resumes. And so if you know someone who might be a good fit, or if you yourself would like to put your hat in the ring, it's WVCSB, West Virginia Convention of Southern Baptists, WVCSB./exec search. So you can send resumes and inquiries to and find answers to your questions there. And moving out west to Fort Worth, we had two seminary trustee stories this week. We're going to start with Southwestern Seminary. Their trustees met this week. And David Dockery, who's been out there, I guess, about 2 years now as the president.
No, it's been about, it's been like 4, I think, 3 or 4.
Really?
It's flown by. Yeah.
Golly. Yeah, you're right. It has been longer than that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So, when he took the helm, it was very unstable, and nobody kind of knew what was going to happen there. But he told the trustees this week that they have entered a time of stability and hopefulness, and that enrollment is improving. Their budget is definitely improving. Next year, fiscal year budget of $37.5 million, which they say was both conservative and faith-filled. Their trustee chairman, Mike Bussey, said that. I'm like, okay, I like that. I could use that at a stewardship committee meeting at my church. It's both conservative and faith-filled. But their chairman, Jonathan Richer, the trustee chairman, said, the proposed budget represents the goodness of God on this place, and we can together say, praise the Lord for his kindness. So yeah, good news coming out of Southwestern. They also have revised their MDiv program. And so you can read the details about that in the story there on Baptist Press.
Yep. And then up in Kansas City, they also had trustee meetings this week. I was actually up there at the same time, but I was doing something else.
Oh, okay.
And I wasn't at the trustee meeting. I wish I could have gotten over for that, because they had Kevin Ezel, the president of the North American Mission Board, speak in chapel on that Tuesday there. But they reported a current total head count of 5,400 students, 5,416 to be exact, for the 24-25 year. And Jason Allen's been there 13 years. He came in 2012.
Wow.
And if you would have told me 13 years ago that they're going to have 5,400 students at Midwestern,
yes,
I would have looked at you like you're crazy.
I had
killed it up there.
Exact conversation with Scott Barkley yesterday when I was editing this trustee story, and I saw that number, and I said 10 years ago, I said, if you had told me 10 years ago that they would have over 5,000 students, I would have said, no way.
It's amazing.
It's just laser focused. Yeah. It's just being phenomenal. Laser focused on their mission, and that for the church branding and the mission that they've had there has paid dividends. Yeah. It's pretty amazing. Yeah.
Now they passed a budget of $35.3 million next year, and also, had some new faculty members. So Matthew Swain was elected to the Wayne and Bernadine Lee Endowed Chair of Church Music and Worship Ministries, and Michael McCullen, Professor of Church History, was elected to the Lee and Tammy Roberson Endowed Chair of Church History. Also announced that new Don Whitney, the Center for Biblical Spirituality, I think is the name of it, this week, that Don Whitney's going to the head.
Oh yeah, that's
there.
right. I remember when he moved out there, they were going to institute that. Yeah.
So they have done that, and the Center for Biblical Spirituality, I think that's the name of it. If I didn't get that right, I'm sorry, guys. But yeah, so big news out of Midwestern this week, and just it keeps continuing to grow. Just amazing job by Jason Allen and the team up there.
And then Kevin Ezell, you mentioned he was there. He had a Q&A or a panel kind of time with Jason Allen about church planning with the students there, and you can actually watch that. There's a live stream of that, so if you want to go check that out, you can. And then going back down to Texas now, really interesting story. Yeah. And I appreciate you flagging this for us because I hadn't seen it and you texted it to me and I was like, we need to write about that. And their Texas House has passed a law that basically would nullify non-disclosure agreements in cases of sexual abuse. And so this has been kind of an ongoing contentious issue, I would say, for the several years. I've heard people talking about this, people that are opposed to feeling like they are being used to silence victims of sexual abuse, who perhaps are vulnerable, who are very young, who don't really know what they're signing, and they're signing it, and then they're not able to tell their story. And so a Texas House of Representatives member who is a Southern Baptist named Jeff Leach has been the champion of this bill, but there were really 5. It's bipartisan. There were 5 members of the Texas House pushing this bill through, and they got it passed. It's called Trey's Law, and it's named for Trey Carlock, a Texas native who committed suicide when overcome by the trauma of an NDA that he had signed related to sexual abuse. So named for him, very successful, exciting development there in Texas. We'll kind of see where it goes. Other states are looking at doing this too. Missouri has very similar legislation that's working its way through right now. Other states have even already done it. I think Tennessee is one of those that doesn't allow NDAs in cases of sexual abuse. And so it's something that we'll continue to follow as we go. It's very relevant, to what's been going on in the SBC the last few years and to our churches. And so, I would encourage everybody to go read that story and look at those details. Yep. It's good stuff.
Yeah, it is. Nice job on that. Diana did a good job with that story and a lot of information. And now that'll move to the Texas Senate for consideration and possible passage over there. So keep an eye on that and see how far that keeps moving. All right, some Lifeway research this week. Very interesting research from Lifeway about visitors and how churches relate to them. 99% of churches welcome visitors, Laura.
I know. I was wondering about that.
Quick research there from Lifeway.
Probably that 1% doesn't have any visitors.
Yeah. What is wrong with that 1%? So the most popular methods, I think a lot of churches, I would say, I'm going through all these. I'm like, well, we have this, we have this, we have this.
Yeah.
Greeters at the entrances, 91%. Opportunity to meet the pastor after the service, also 91%. 80% have printed guest cards for people to complete and do. 38% have an online form. So, a lot of them probably have both. We have both at ours. 28% have books in the pews for all attendees to indicate that they were present.
Yeah, so I was reading that in the story. I'm like, I don't think I've ever been to a church. It's like they have a roll in the pew and you have to fill out the roll, check that you were there.
I've never seen that.
I
was a little confused by that one. But maybe that's a different stream than what we're in.
Yeah, maybe.
2 and 5 have gifts for guests. Most popular gifts are, I think this is no surprise. Mugs, pens, bags or baskets, food and drink items, books, welcome packets about the church. I mean, those are kind of standard. 5% give away gift cards, Laura. I've seen this. So that was something that Dr. Rayner used to talk about whenever I worked for him. We were talking about with gifts and guests and stuff. And he was always an advocate of gift cards. Just maybe it's $10 to Starbucks or something like that. I mean, just something simple. But he actually really liked $10 gift cards to Lifeway. But
that'd be cool.
Yeah, it would be neat.
Use it in the online store, but
yeah, now it is, yes. But to give that's actually some value there. A pen. I mean, come on, really. I mean, but the gift cards, I like that. It's a good value there. Most pastors said that this is interesting. White pastors are the ones that are most likely to have greeters at entrances, 92%. African-American pastors are the most likely to set aside time in the service to welcome guests, 82%, and to ask guests to stand. So different streams, different
Yeah.
worlds,
Yeah.
different types of culture in the different churches. Because I think the guest standing in the churches that I've been, I haven't seen that in ages.
No, I haven't either. We used
And
to do
even
it at
like
our church like a
ever since
long time.
COVID,
Yeah.
I've seen like the stand and greet time go away. Like that's gone.
Yeah,
I remember
we do
whenever.
that. We brought that back after COVID.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
So I remember one of the biggest blog posts that Dr. Rayner ever wrote, and it just blew up, was about why to kill the stand and greet time.
I
Like
remember
that
that.
was a huge deal. And so it's funny to see that in here. So anyway, yeah, so a lot more information there in the Lifeway research. We appreciate those guys doing that again. You can find out more about that over at baptistpress.com and check out the full story and all the research. There's a lot more to it, but some neat information about visitors and
Yeah,
how
it
churches
always
relate to them.
is interesting to me to see what other churches are doing and like how does
Yeah.
my church kind of track with that or veer off
Mhm.
from that or whatever.
Yeah.
So we're going to kind of switch gears to ERLC news today. We've got 2 or 3 things from ERLC that happened this week. A really good overview story from Scott Barkley about the Supreme Court cases that the ERLC is not only watching, but really involved
Yeah.
in filing amicus briefs and just trying to weigh in on the outcome of these cases. And I think this is unusual for them to have this many. Usually it's 1 or 2, and this year there are 5 cases. And so I'm just going to kind of hit them real quick here. The first one is U.S. versus Scrimeti. And this is a Tennessee bill that was approved in March 2023 and went into effect that same year that prohibits medical procedures intended to affirm gender identity for those under 18. So basically, this is saying you can't give hormone replacement therapy or surgical gender reassignment surgery or anything like that to minors. And so that's a Tennessee law that has made it all the way up to the Supreme Court.
Yeah. One note on that.
Yeah.
Jonathan Scrimeti, the Attorney General of Tennessee,
Yeah.
will be joining Brent Leatherwood at the annual meeting for a panel discussion on Tuesday. ERLC is having an event for that on Tuesday at lunch. Jonathan Scrimeti, along with one of the VPs at ADF. I can't remember the name of the guy. I'm sorry, but they'll be joining Brent.
Hearing about that.
For
I
an
had
event.
forgotten. Yeah.
So yeah, so that is going to be a topic of much discussion at the
Yeah.
annual meeting because
That's
Scrimeti
really
will be
cool.
there.
That is really cool. What'll be interesting is what if the ruling comes down like while he's at SBC? That'll be
Oh, that'd be wild. I hadn't thought about that now. Hadn't thought about that. Okay, that would be weird.
Yeah.
Okay.
The next one is called Free Speech Coalition Incorporated versus Paxton. And this one has to do with age verification on adult websites. And this is a Texas law from 2023 that requires websites capable of distributing sexual material harmful to minors to include that age verification step. And of course, you have all of these companies that provide this content that are fighting this, saying that it violates their First Amendment rights, that they shouldn't have to do this. But the state of Texas has taken that all the way up to the Supreme Court. And so we'll see where that one goes. The ERLC is also following that very closely. Next one is Medina versus Planned Parenthood. And we've written about this one. We've actually talked about this one on the podcast in the last couple of weeks. Their South Carolina Governor Henry McMaster, this one goes all the way back to 2018. This one's been kind of making its way through. He disqualified abortion providers from participating in the state's Medicaid program. So that basically primarily was Planned Parenthood, is my understanding. And so it essentially defunded Planned Parenthood in the state of South Carolina because if they can't receive Medicaid, it was harmful to them. And so they took it to court and said this wasn't fair because Medicaid says you can choose your provider and they're a provider. And so we will see that ERLC has joined a brief with several other groups in that case, saying that South Carolina is well within its rights to prevent taxpayer money from going to Planned Parenthood and other providers that provide abortions. And so that'll be an interesting one to follow as well. And then the fourth one is Catholic Charities versus Wisconsin Labor and Industry Review Commission. This is a pretty up and down religious liberty case in my mind. Catholic Charities provides all these services and they are now not immune to their a Wisconsin unemployment insurance program they are not allowed to participate in it because they're considered a religion. It's considered, their charity is not considered religious because they provide charity to non-religious people, basically, or to anyone who needs it. That's what the state of Wisconsin is basically arguing, saying, well, because you don't limit your charity to only Catholics, then you can't claim that it's a religious activity.
Because you're actually charitable.
Yeah, right. So I feel like this one is kind of a no-brainer. I feel like I know how the Supreme Court's going to rule on this one but you never know. And ERLC's watching that one too. The last one is called Mahmoud versus Taylor. And this one's about parental rights. Basically, parents that want to be allowed to opt out of certain content in their kids' class. And a Maryland school board had said that they can't do that. The Montgomery County Board of Education introduced a policy that required elementary school children to participate in instruction on gender and sexuality without parental notice or the ability to opt out over religious objections. Once again, seems open and shut.
Like every other state in the union has that. Like, who does Maryland think they are? Like, I literally signed something a couple weeks ago about this for Micah in like 6th grade health or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm like,
yeah.
Grief.
So once again, that's another one you think it's got to be kind of open and shut. So we'll be following that one as well. And what's going to happen is every one of those is going to come down while we're at annual meeting.
Yeah, of course.
My head's going to explode. That's what's going to happen.
Good luck, y'all.
Yeah.
Says a guy not in charge of Baptist Press anymore.
So ERLC, staying with them, another bit of news from ERLC this week. They joined a letter with dozens of other faith leaders urging President Trump to make it a priority to when in his negotiations with Putin regarding the war in Ukraine, to release Ukrainian children that have been abducted. Nearly 20,000 Ukrainian children have been abducted by the Russian military throughout the course of the war, and they're urging President Trump to urge Putin to demand the release of those children as part of any peace talks that happen. They're just urging him to make that a priority. And so I would encourage you to read that whole story. It's just tragic story.
All right. And finally, we got an Easter song, a story about an Easter song, a new Easter song, the first hymn. It's going to be released. It was found 100 years ago in ancient Egyptian ruins. And John Dickinson, a professor of biblical studies and public Christianity at Wheaton, began to realize the importance of it and was like, hey, we need to bring this hymn back to life. So this is a song that's like centuries old, dating back to the mid 200s. Okay.
Yeah.
And so they're thinking like, let's bring this thing back. So he worked with Chris Tomlin as well as Ben Fielding, and they put the song to music that the modern church can relate to. So there's a story in Baptist Press this week about this song, and you can read the lyrics and everything. And the Zeus part is a little weird to me, but
well, it's saying that
they're saying Lord, but
the lyrics are sort of a confrontation to Zeus. Of course, still in 200s, people were still worshiping Zeus.
Yeah. I guess
so this lyric is like apparently scholars believe that it's sort of deliberately confrontational to Zeus and what people believed about Zeus.
Mm-hmm.
And this is pretty exciting. I saw this story get some traction when we published it earlier this week. Lots of people were sharing it, talking about it. It possibly is the oldest hymn known in existence, and now you can actually sing it. And the lyrics are pretty orthodox. I mean, it talks about the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit, the Trinity. I mean, it's really cool, really cool. So yeah, I would encourage you to read that. And then tonight, like we're recording this on Friday, April 11th. This is the actual day when they're debuting the song. And there's going to be a live stream tonight, and you can watch a documentary about it. And you can see all that in the Baptist Press story that we published. But I can't wait to hear it. I'm planning to listen to it today. I haven't heard it yet.
Cool. All right.
Well, it's time. Speaking of really old things, it's time for our history moment, Jonathan. This one's not as old as like 1800 years, though. It's a little newer than that.
Good.
It's only 1967. This one is crazy. 67, April 11th. So literally today's date, 1967. You're not going to believe this. You're not going to believe this story.
Okay.
Here's the headline. Missing Sunday school board worker suffers from amnesia.
Oh, wow.
An employee of the Sunday school board of the Southern Baptist Convention who was missing from work and home for 9 days was located April 8th in Kansas City. Graves O. Collins, 32, audiovisual librarian in the board's church library department, was described by hospital officials there as suffering from some state of amnesia. No cause had been determined for his amnesia. After he was reported missing on April 1st, friends and local police began a search for him. 3 days later, his car was found in downtown Memphis. On April 8th, Collins walked up to the information desk at General Hospital in Kansas City with a clipping from the Memphis Commercial Appeal and asked, "Am I this man?" He said he could remember nothing prior to the time that he read the newspaper article. He didn't know how he got to Kansas City or how long he had been there. Neither did he know who he was. He was in excellent physical condition. Nashville authorities were notified by the hospital, and a fellow Sunday school board worker went to Kansas City to identify Collins and accompany him back to Nashville. So that's the end of the story, okay? That's it. So I was dying to know what in the world, what happened to this guy. So the only other mention of him that I can find, Graves O. Collins, was number one. So this was 1967 when he had amnesia. In 1971, in a resolution from the annual meeting in Philadelphia, he is thanked in the resolution listing or expressing gratitude to the host city of Philadelphia. He was a pastor in Philadelphia.
Oh, wow. Does he know he was a pastor in Philadelphia?
He was on the local arrangements committee, and he's listed in this resolution. His name is there. And then I also found in the archives a annual meeting program from the Pennsylvania South Jersey annual meeting from 1971, that same year as the resolution.
Listed him as a pastor.
And he's listed there as well. So I know at some point he became a pastor in Philadelphia within a few years of this incident, but I couldn't find anything else about him. I couldn't find an obituary or anything. So I'm just dying. If anybody has any more information, I need to know what in the world happened to this poor guy. So Graves Collins was his name.
And he didn't know how he got from Memphis to, or
he didn't even
Nashville,
remember going to Memphis.
Man.
Yeah.
There's a Severance joke in there somewhere, but I don't know.
And how did he get from Memphis to Kansas City? Because his car was in Memphis. Did he fly? Did he hitchhike? What?
I don't know.
Isn't that crazy?
That's wild.
Yeah.
That's one of the strangest ones.
Yeah. So our listeners in Philadelphia, if you could find out for me what happened to this guy. The church that he was pastoring doesn't exist anymore. The church that he became a pastor, because I looked into that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
He did a lot of digging on that one. All right.
I did. Well, I really wanted to know about poor Graves Collins. Yeah.
This week in SBC history.
Well, again, thanks, Jonathan, for being with us today, for being sort of our permanent fill-in guy. We appreciate it very much. And as always, there's way more news than we had time to talk about today. And you can find all of this and much more at baptistpress.com. Thanks for listening.